Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode 2 of Saints Radio.
We would firstly like to acknowledge that the land that we're meeting on today is the traditional lands of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains. We pay our respect to all Aboriginal elders, past, present and emerging, and acknowledge their cultural relationship with country.
Welcome back, everybody. It has been a little bit of time since our last instalment. We apologise for that on our behalf. It's been a very busy term 2. And it's certainly been a very busy end to term 1 when we kind of first started thinking about what we can do for this. But the reason it was busy is because we were starting up with one of these new flagship initiatives for this year in our captaincy, which was the Saints Student Association. So, we were kind of going through the motions with what we can do to make some impact towards positive culture this year, which you would all know is one of our top priorities for 2022. So to do this, we kind of set ourselves some aims, didn't we, Aidan? And it was kind of based around 3 main points, if you want to take us through those.
Yeah, so we firstly wanted to sort of unify the student body at Saints. We thought back to when does the school feel most together, and one time that really stands out for us particularly is especially winter intercol periods. And we think that any initiatives that we can do to sort of unify our student body under one sort of banner, it would be a really meaningful cause to do that. We also, really understand the importance of having a strong and proactive student voice in our community. As I keep saying to people that we speak to about this project, nobody quite understands the Saints experience quite like the boys that are currently living the Saints experience, and it isn't something that is constant. It's ever changing year on year. So, being able to tap into that understanding and that knowledge is really important to improving the Saints experience. But we firstly need to listen to those who are living it. So that's why we think we wanted to amplify that presence of student voice. We also wanted to enhance opportunities for student belonging, well-being and camaraderie. So there's a model of sort of positive well-being that really focuses on, just making the day-to-day fun. And it's almost preventative. So you prevent mental health decline by having more recreational events, more fun events, and just associating with the school with a really positive experience of yourself. And so that's something that we really wanted to do.
Because in our experience, Aidan, some of the best experiences and memories we have is, for example, I remember in 2016 when we had bubble soccer out on the oval.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just a purely recreational event.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything else tied to it.
Yeah.
And I think those types of events are things that students just wholeheartedly enjoy.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that we kind of wanted to bring back in a more structured format. It wasn't done by the odd individual for a fundraiser. It was done as a structured program from the school itself.
Yeah.
And we thought that was going to be a really good way for students to be able to identify positively with the day-to-day.
Yeah.
And I think that day-to-day element was really important for us because out of the many, many weeks you're here on campus, you'll have your big events, your winter intercols, your sports seasons, but the in-between is also crucially important. So I think we kind of wanted to take it back and go back to a grassroots level to really figure out how best to attack that. And that's what brought us to the Saints Student Association. Aidan, now initially, before all of this, we were kind of talking about the idea of a cultural hub, which is what we wanted to really base this off of. It kind of came off the back of the Blue Group, which worked off in 2019 with the original intention of creating a space for student voice and a space that can prioritise the student experience. So having those conversations in term 1, we kind of started to put proposals together for our senior leadership team with our headmasters, deputy headmasters, and then we kind of pushed it out. And we were pretty pleased to see that it was pretty well received, and we were given the freedom to kind of go on our ways and really plan it out and plan out how it's going to slot in to the Saints structure.
Yeah, so one of the really important first steps for the Saints Student Association was to sort of overhaul and have a real look at clubs and societies and what they offer in terms of their programs. And really, we saw that firstly, clubs and societies were really important because it gives students avenues to explore their passions outside of the school environment, or outside of the classroom environment, so in extracurricular contexts. And we thought that was really important because it would, allow students to really experience these passions and explore these passions with like-minded people, both students and staff. And so that was really where we firstly looked at how can we best sort of raise the profile of these societies and provide a platform where they can be sort of improved and enhanced, and also give students the space to create their own societies if one doesn't exist. So that's really, we spoke with Mr. Eaton about that, and we really started getting a look at, really going in and seeing what clubs and societies are like and what their structure's like. And
that was actually really interesting learning for us as well. In this role, there's a lot of opportunity to learn, but it's really what you put into it is what you'll get out. And I think we really found that out firsthand doing this initiative, learning about the ins and outs of the way that co-curriculars work and the way that the timetable works on a day-to-day basis when allocating rooms for club societies, the simplest things that we take for granted, a really complex back end. And I think we learnt that firsthand, especially when we were developing the new homepage for the Saints Student Association, working with Keystone, looking at the right hubs to put things under, where we get our resources from. Those are all really, really interesting points of learning for us. And I think it's really interesting learning for future students who are in our roles, but also students who are creating clubs and societies, because they'll be able to use that leadership, find their own initiative and learn those skills themselves. So we'll come back to how students can do that a little later on. We're just going to touch on how student voice is achieved through the Saints Student Association. So under student voice, one of the things that there are a couple of things. Firstly, we want to build an inclusive, connected, positive student culture. Secondly, providing a platform for healthy perspective and for students to have a space to freely express matters pertinent to their student body. So we do this in the form of a fortnightly Thursday lunchtime open forum. We've had a couple of these already this term, and they've been pretty exceptional. We've had students come in and express really, really poignant matters and really good ways to enhance their experience. We had students come in talking about what do we do with our old textbooks, right? Let's do a drive where we get our old textbooks together and send them to places which either need them or redistribute them to younger students if you've already completed the subject. So those are the kind of discussions the boys are having. Yeah, and
the most recent one we had, I sort of put the question, what do you think of our initiative, the Saints Student Association as a whole, and what ideas do you have to improve it already? And, had a lot of suggestions around how we can improve that, particularly through adding elements to the Saints Student Association homepage, like a suggestions box, just more generally, just continually tapping into the Saints students at even just how we can improve our own initiatives. And that's been really great. We have a few regulars there. We hope to see some new faces as well.
Absolutely.
And increasing numbers. Hopefully after this episode is released, you'll want to come along every other Thursday. We'll probably have one more
for the term. One more in week 9, and then we'll kick back off in week 1 of term 3.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So as part of this, one of the things we wanted to do is not only create that central location every fortnight, but have that central location available on the students' computers digitally, which is what we did with the new Saints Student Association homepage. So as you can see here, all staff and students will have this mandatory tile called the Saints Student Association right in the center of their pages, which will take them to a page that looks like this. The purpose of this page is to very clearly provide access points for creating a club or society, joining a club or society, and accessing a few other cool things. So, joining a club or society. Aiden, we rehauled this a little bit and did some categorizations. Do you want to step us through those?
Would love to, Sharath.
So, if you click this, it'll take you to this new page, which you can see 4 new categories.
Yeah, so, we... in discussions with members of senior leadership teams, we were really thinking about how we can make the differences and really make a good distinction between the clubs and societies that we have at Saints. So as you see, there are a lot of tabs there of all these different clubs and societies. Now, this is what we did as our recategorization. This is the final product. Before that, it was just one big page of a bunch of different ones. but we thought that this would maybe add a little bit more clarity of what's expected of these clubs and societies. So we firstly got faculty-led clubs and societies. Those are ones that are probably pretty self-explanatory. They're associated to a faculty. So, maths at Saints, science at Saints, languages societies. We put under faculty-led societies because, they're either support or extension of those current curriculum-based subjects. So those faculty-led societies, need to provide sort of those programs around either extension or support, and they need to be sort of supervised and sort of run by members of that faculty. That's one form of clubs and societies. We also have competition-based societies, so those are ones that happen outside of school and that aren't sport. But, there's a competitive element, whether that be, intra-school or inter-school competitions. Vex Robotics Society is something that was new, or I've only recently heard of. Yeah. That was really cool. Had by Mr. Lamont.
Yes, there's also, and his
SACLO.
Team. SACLO, which is the South Australian Computational Linguistics Olympiad, which was just started up by Miss Spivey. Yep. So, as you were talking about, these are all kind of competition, but they meet in school. Yeah, they meet in school to prepare and that sort of thing. We've also got public speaking. There's the Rostrum of Youth, which is sort of the statewide public speaking competition. But then we've also got prizes like the WH Owen Prize. I think so.
That's the year 11 and 12 public speaking competition. Yes. We've also got the Arnold Reed Prize, which is the sort of middle years or junior, senior year competition. So those are all sort of under that competition-based societies title. We've also got project-based societies. Now those are ones that they meet for a specific time throughout the year, and then and they deliver a project. So they have actually something that they meet for, and they will plan those sorts of projects. For example, there was
Historical Society's faculty.
Yeah.
It's
sorry.
No. The tricky part about this that comes up is that a faculty can be more than one.
Yeah.
So it can have like a faculty-led but project-based society or a faculty-led cultural society, but we kind of categorize it based on the most obvious element of it. So, if you look at some of the project-based societies and you look at politics society, they'll meet regularly to discuss elements that are pertinent to the current political landscape. And the project that they actually do is they might run mock UN sessions multiple times, or like a session for the school. That's their project. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like an event or a deliverable right that, but the projects might be mini moots or mini competitions throughout the course of a term. And what we really wanted to send home through all of this, in addition to cultural, and cultural clubs are, the clubs that we deem are really pertinent to the school's values of truth, respect and service. For example, Blue Group is a committee that really centers on truth and respect and is service in the point that we are providing boys with an avenue to serve other students to raise awareness about men's mental health. And, for example, under that we also have Pride at Saints and Reconciliation Committee, which we're involved with quite heavily this year, which we deem are cultural clubs. Amongst all of this, we kind of wanted to send home the message that try to get involved amongst all four of these categories, and don't be afraid if you're a club society leader to designate a time period for the existence of your club. It doesn't have to run for the entire year, because a club might see participation fizzle out naturally towards the end of the year. And that happens, and we have to account for that, and that's perfectly normal. But if that's the case, what they can do to optimize their deliverable is run it for X amount of time that they know it's going to run fantastically. Then after that, they can say, all right, guys, we've finished for the year. We've only run for 8 weeks in term 2, but that's what this club does. We'll see you in 2023. Yeah. And it also gives an opportunity for students to then create programs that are really meaningful and pack a punch.
Yeah, and it also allows for students, there are students that want to be involved in everything. And, if a society met for every, Tuesday lunchtime for the whole year, that's a Tuesday lunchtime taken up every Tuesday for the year, whereas, they could be involved in one project and then switch, whenever that project period ends, they join another society and they can continue to be involved with these initiatives outside of school without feeling like they're overcommitting their time.
Yeah, and they can experience a lot of different
Yeah.
things. So that's the categorizations for this year. And another part of the homepage that has been really useful is the academic resources tile. So what this has done is really centralize where we can find help sessions and extension sessions. Now, it's not actually on this presentation. This was a presentation we created some time ago. But if students were to click on this tab, they'd be able to see a roster of lunch times across the week or recess times after schools, which certain help sessions are running at. So Maths at Saints runs, during lunch times across the week. And there's also direct contacts to all the teachers and or senior students who are involved with those activities. So it's a really good way for students to have a central point of access so they don't have to go chasing loose ends or not know who to approach. So again, it kind of ties into the idea that we have this cultural hub, this central location where boys can go to with faith, knowing that the information they want is there. And if it isn't, they can help create it. They can help put it there through these open forum meetings or through expressions of interest. Now, Aidan, one of the things we really wanted to push this year was giving students the ability to create a club, which hasn't been much of a direct process in the past because it's been quite difficult to do, and it still is. But what this process does is allow it to become streamlined and really put a focal point on it. What do you think about it?
Yeah, so, there are obviously passions that students might have that hasn't been thought of by staff members who have been able to, in the past, be able to create these societies. So there's been a bit of a barrier between ideation and execution of that idea. And so we wanted to really minimise that. So, we want to, if there's somebody has something that they want to do for a club or society, and they want to meet with like-minded people and explore that passion, then they just need to fill out a form there, which is on the screen. And then, that gets sent to us, and then we meet with them and discuss their idea in more detail and discuss how they plan on managing and leading that society and all of those logistical things. Then we go and liaise with, the logistical side of the school and SLT and get it approved, and then give them a room, allocate resources, and allow them to get on their way. So we've had already a lot of meetings with really quite enthusiastic and passionate students, which is what we wanted to happen.
Yeah.
And it's great that they've taken this on board. And we've got in the pipeline for term 3 a lot of different clubs and societies that are quite new, particularly a middle years origami club that will be headed by one of our middle years boys, which will focus on, teaching his, friends or like-minded students about origami and how to make that, which I think is awesome. We've also got, like a weightlifting theory group that will just discuss and appreciate and learn form and technique for weightlifting, which is awesome. And we've got like Rubik's Cube societies.
There's 2 Rubik's Cubes, but there were 2 boys who submitted application for Rubik's Cube societies, which we kind of just merged together and say, hey, you guys have similar interests already. Let's form a group between you 2. So effectively, the idea is that, Saints is a very diverse place and there are a lot of niches here. And if there isn't a niche that's formally represented by a club or society, let's create it, right? So, after we unveiled this a couple of weeks ago, and we unleashed this tile with this form, within the first 6 days, we had 14 responses. And right now we have 20 pending applications for new clubs and societies, which is insane.
Yeah, and we're going to try our best to, facilitate those societies to run, and we're going to do everything that we can to provide those students the space that they would like at the school and to make their day-to-day just more enjoyable as well. And that leads on quite nicely to the recreational events. So term 2 has been very hectic, but we've been really happy to be able to put on one recreational event this year so far, with another one currently being planned. And that was like movies in Mem Hall at lunch. And that was really, Sharath and I were just sort of discussing how cool would it be just to go to Mem Hall and watch a movie. We've got that space that's, could be utilised more for recreational activities. Memorial Hall's an awesome place to be able to do that.
Not sure why we haven't done it in the past really as much.
Yeah, so we put on Back to the Future over 3 lunch times, and we saw a pretty good turnout.
Absolutely.
And those boys can just come along and, if you enjoy Back to the Future, I haven't seen it, for example, you could have come along and had it and watched it with your mates in just a pretty relaxed environment. And so we just, we want to do more of those things, and we hope that this will sort of help, future captains in future years or future student leaders to be able to run those similarly enjoyable activities and just, create a bit of a buzz to the day-to-day and provide students with a place to go.
Absolutely.
And enjoy their lunch. And
students can also access exactly when these sessions are running. On the homepage, as you can see, there's a calendar that boys can actually click right on and will go onto their own personal calendars. So coming up this week, hopefully we're going to do a staff versus student debate, and hopefully if we can pull it together in time for next week, a staff versus student dodgeball game. We've had some absentees within ourselves and within the prefect body, so we've had a bit of a lapse in organising them this term, but we hope to have some rostered out for term 3 already in the midst of the busy term that's going to come up.
Yeah.
So that effectively wraps it up in terms of the general overview of the new Saints Student Association. We hope that down the line it becomes something that boys embrace, and it's going to be a slow burner, absolutely, because it's quite a rehaul to the way that we do things here. But we hope, and are really, really proud of the boys who've taken the initiative and the leadership to put an application in for new club societies. And we hope that other boys who might be listening to this now, or parents who are listening to this now, can find a way to muster up the courage to think, you know what, I want to start one up. And it's all about the initiative and starting it up, because you'll be surprised how many people will also be interested in the same thing you are.
Yeah.
But you might just not know because the opportunity hasn't been there before. So we think that's a really beautiful way for us to accelerate the experience and create a positive culture here at Saints.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. Now, Saints Radio is an initiative that was started last year, and we're, as Sharath alluded to earlier, we really want to keep this going, because we think that, the more ways that we can communicate with our wider student community, wider community here about what's going on at school and what's going on in the wider community, we think that the more opportunity for that, the better. And, if we see that as, taking part of, interviewing current students who are pursuing really quite interesting fields and, doing quite interesting things. And we also, would like to be able to interview past students and old scholars about their time at Saints, and also what they're doing with the skills that they've learnt here and how they're positively contributing to society. And we think that'd be a really, really fascinating and interesting way of continuing this initiative.
Absolutely.
So, with really asking you guys if you have, any ideas or would like to be interviewed, or, of an interesting story that you think would be really good to share here on this platform, don't hesitate to get in contact with us. We really look forward to hearing what ideas you have to help us, enhance this initiative. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
And you're probably going to be watching this right now on our YouTube channel. So please get in contact with us via our Instagram account at Saints Captains on Instagram. We're more than happy to hear what all of your fantastic and lovely ideas are like. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope to see you very, very soon.